a company which is predominantly based on lignite. So that's the only player in the market, in the Romanian market, producing lignite and burning it to produce electricity. The case of restructuring of Oltenia, I think it's the best example of a transformation for the energy industry and the energy sector as we experience it in Europe, across Europe. And it's a perfect example, not just of a significant transformation, perhaps the largest one in the energy sector of Romania, but it's an example of the two components that have been covered in the morning by my previous speakers: energy security of supply and the energy transition. So define solutions. So actually the restructuring plan of Oltenia, it's a combination of solutions found together with the authorities, with of course our consultants, and also with the help of DG Competition and the authorities here in Brussels. For those who do not perhaps know the footprint of Oltenia, just briefly, it's a market player who used to have 30% plus of market share in the past. In the last years, and you could see it also on the turnover here, it has fluctuated, and then the gross profit also turned into actually a big minus. So something had to be done. So yes, it's important to have the security of supply, electricity produced, but you can't just produce losses after losses every year. Someone needs to pay for this, and this cannot continue like this. So something had to be done. In 2020, actually, at the beginning of pandemic, it was the first time when the company got state aid for like the rescue situation. This was the first step towards this direction to actually define a restructuring plan to show the way out of this difficult situation. So we took actually this lignite producer and defined a new path for it. So while, of course, reducing the footprint of coal in the future, with a big component of security of supply, as I said, so gradual reduction until the end of the decade, we said, okay, but we need to put something back. We can't just reduce it and then wait for others to, perhaps other players to invest and bring new capacities in the system. We've unfortunately seen in Romania no investment in the last 30 years other than one of the power plant developed by a private company, Petrom, and of course the renewable wave, which was seen across Europe. So we developed a portfolio of projects, first on the paper, but now they are actually becoming real. So we're looking at a capacity of 2 gigawatts or 2,000 megawatts being built in the future. We are looking at 2 CCGTs with a combined power, installed power of 1,300 megawatts, and solar projects of 700, in excess of 700 megawatts. In total, 10 projects and a little hydro rehabilitation here. In total, 1.5 billion euros to be invested in the next futures. We're planning to commission the photovoltaic plants in 2024 and CCGTs in 2026. What is important here is to prove again the energy transition path that the company is taking. So not just reducing the lignite and the emissions related thereof, but also to show that we were together with the two, especially the 2 CCGTs, we're able to support Romania reaching the objectives in the national plan, the integrated plan that has been approved and probably will be changed in next year or so. But it's an important contribution in terms of capacity installed, gas-fired capacity installed, as well as CO2 emission reduction. So what is this restructuring plan actually? As I said, it's a combination of solutions, and it was prepared like, I like to say, like a set of contracts, long-term contracts. The plan is a long-term contract, but it has behind several other commitments that Romania has taken. It's not just about one company here. We're talking commitments made by the country towards EU. And the plan is, of course, to stick to these commitments made, and they will last until 2026. So that's the duration of the plan. And that shows, for those familiar with the restructuring state aid, that already we had to extend and stretch the duration. Normally, such a state aid is not given for more than 5 years. But we have proven that in order to combine energy security of supply and energy transition, we have to get this longer period of time until 2026. So after 2 years, we started actually in May 2020, as I said, with the rescue aid, which was received by the company as a last resort measure. In January this year, in 2022, we managed to secure the state aid approval for an amount which means 3.9 billion of a restructuring efforts, which has, of course, a contribution from the company in the size of 1.3 billion, and the state aid 2.6, which also covers the part which was received by now. And it will be then further on received every year, essentially to cover the CO2 burden and the CO2 compliance obligation until 2026. So this is if we look at these pieces of the puzzle, that's the number, the big ticket numbers that we're talking about. So 3.9 total restructuring cost and the two elements of it. Now, as I said, there are two components again. We have a phase out a coal phase out and a restructuring of the current business. And this is, of course, the classic model for a restructuring. So we're looking at, other than phase out, a spin-off of one power plant, which deals actually with thermal power. And this will be happening this year. The typical workforce reduction, of course, if you don't have the assets, you don't have also the workforce. And we, of course, developed solutions to find new, first of all, support for the people, but also reskilling and upskilling solutions for the future. And other measures, as I said, typical ones for the restructuring when it comes to performance management and operational excellence, even for those assets which are still existing and will still exist until the end of the decade. Yeah, and digitalization, that's a very important element as well, and we have very clear measures on how to implement those. On the other side, so that's about the existing business. If we look into the future, then the new business, and this kept us very busy actually in the last, this was the part where we restructured the current business was perhaps the easiest, if you can call it this way, because this is where we started, and soon after we have notified in the commission, it became very clear that actually this part, the new business, and how we develop this business is actually the key to find the way to the approval. Why do I say that? Because you cannot only develop. You can not receive a state aid and develop and do everything by yourself. You need to attract fresh money. So this is what we have done, fresh money, and also attract new competitors or competitors of yours to really be part of your way, be part of your solution. And we have worked actually last year with a focus to identify partners who actually are competitors of ours, to be partners with us to develop the new project, the ones I mentioned previously. So here we have had an M&A process, ended in December with the identification of two partners. One is OMV Petrom for 4 of the projects of photovoltaic, and the other one is Tinmar Energy For the other 4 projects, photovoltaic and 1 CCGT. We're still left with 1 CCGT, the larger one, 850 megawatts in Ișalnița, and here we have resumed actually and relaunched the process recently. We are looking for an investor here to help us and partner with us to build this important capacity in the upcoming years. The other element here, as I said, fresh money. So we had to have a look on how the banks could support us. And we have already structured 2 syndications. We have 1 syndication for the photovoltaic plants, 1 syndication for the CCGT projects. One is headed by EBRD, the other one is headed by Erste and Black Sea Trade and Development Bank. Things are moving. We have all the processes in place. And here we found the understanding of DG Competition to have the near commitments type of approach, so to have not to wait for the final contracts to be signed, because this is a very cumbersome process, since, and it's important thing here, we are going to project finance this project. So the projects will be SPVs. There will be actually new companies, separate companies from Oltenia, and together with the partners we will establish this sum of these SPVs, and then the SPVs will benefit from the bank financing via the project finance, and of course an important element here, the modernization fund. We have applied to the modernization fund earlier this year, immediately after securing the state aid approval. And next week, actually, is the big day, 7th of April. It's a day when the investment committee will, of EIB, of the modernization fund, will meet, and we hopefully get the final approval as well. And then we have completed actually the set of approvals that would lead actually and then pave the way for these new projects, for this 1.5 billion euros of projects to be invested. Projects which are under permitting, in various stages. We have all feasibility studies. We're preparing to hire the owners' engineers to support us in developing the projects and launch the EPC contracting towards the end of the year. So everything is up and running according to the schedule. What you see here, the last 3 pieces of the puzzle are very important elements as well, that help us to secure the approval of the restructuring plan. And they are related to, let me start this way, Fondul Proprietatea. This is the other shareholder of the company. So in a state aid file, you can't just let one shareholder, meaning the state, run the show and take the whole effort. Yeah, you need all the shareholders to participate. So we have here, we have managed to find a way together with the other important shareholder of the company to support, to get involved in the process. The other support, the other supporting element is related to a share capital operation, which has already taken place to decrease the share capital with the losses that have been carried forward in the last years. So we have completed that. We still have another way to go for a share capital increase, again with the logic of not just grants from the state, but you need to diversify and mix the types of sources that are used in a state aid. And last bit here, Oltenia will have a lignite subsidiary. So this will be another measure that was required by DG Competition. This will happen towards the end of the duration, not now, but to show a very transparent holding structure where Oltenia will have lignite business and the other 2 business lines on gas and photovoltaic. And again, towards the end of the duration of, so close to 2026, the state has committed that will divest partially a share of Oltenia, again to meet certain requirements in a state aid file dealing with the remuneration of the effort that the state has done. So that's essentially the big picture of the plan. Not too many numbers at this stage, just the big ticket numbers. as the decision is soon to be published. So this probably will happen in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Once DG Competition will finalize all the preparations. And once we will come to that point, of course, we can discuss it further in detail. Important is, as I said at the beginning, that this is one of, that we succeeded. It's, I think, one of the good cases and the positive news that came from Romania in the last year or so, given especially the difficult situation in the energy market and pandemic and all the negative things we have seen. There is one more to go, and all these processes I just mentioned, they are up and running until everything is implemented and everything is brought to an end. But I'm very thankful for all the support we have received from the Romanian authorities and also from the authorities here in Brussels. And I think it was a very good example of team effort across the board. Thank you.